Imagine sitting quietly in your home late at night. Maybe you just finished dinner. Maybe somebody is washing dishes nearby. Maybe a radio is playing soft music in the corner of the room. And then suddenly, the sirens begin. Long, loud, mechanical screams rolling across the city. Not exactly the relaxing soundtrack anyone wanted before bed. Within seconds, people all over the neighborhood start moving. Windows slam shut. Lights go dark. Parents grab blankets. Children grab toys. Somebody always forgets something important. Probably the bread. It is somehow always the bread. And then comes the sound everybody fears most. Aircraft engines. During World War II, millions of people around the world lived with this routine almost every single day, especially in places like London, Berlin, Warsaw, Stalingrad, Tokyo, and many other cities that became targets from the sky. Before World War II, war mostly happened on battlefields far away from ordinary homes. Civilians still suffered, of course, but now something had changed. Airplanes could fly directly over cities and drop bombs onto streets, schools, train stations, hospitals, and apartment buildings. Suddenly, nowhere felt safe anymore, and that fear created an entirely new world underground. The bunker became part of daily life. Some bunkers were huge concrete structures built by governments. Others were tiny homemade shelters dug in backyards by nervous fathers who had probably never built anything in their lives before. Somewhere in Britain, there was definitely a man staring at crooked metal sheets, saying, "Yep, that should stop a bomb." Hopefully, as the war grew larger, bombing campaigns became more brutal. Cities were attacked during both day and night. Sometimes the bombings lasted for hours, sometimes for days. People needed somewhere to hide. First, in Britain, the government encouraged families to build Anderson shelters in their gardens. These were small curved shelters made from corrugated steel and covered with dirt. Technically, they were designed for survival. Comfort, however, was not invited to the meeting. They were cold, damp, tiny, and usually filled with the smell of wet soil and nervous sweating. Still, they saved thousands of lives. In big cities, public shelters appeared underground in subway stations and basements. During the Blitz in London, thousands of civilians slept inside underground train stations while German bombs exploded above them. Picture it for a moment. An entire subway platform filled with blankets, luggage, crying babies, tired workers, old grandmothers, and exhausted children trying to sleep while the ceiling gently shakes from distant explosions. Not exactly a five-star hotel experience. Yet over time, people adapted. That might be one of the strangest things about humans. Give people enough chaos, and eventually someone starts organizing tea breaks. Even during bombing raids. In Germany, civilians also spent countless nights inside air raid shelters as Allied bombers attacked cities later in the war. Massive concrete bunkers appeared across urban areas. Some looked almost like giant gray fortresses rising above the streets. The Nazis even built enormous flak towers, gigantic anti-aircraft defense towers made from reinforced concrete, so thick they were incredibly difficult to destroy. These structures acted as both gun platforms and shelters for civilians. Inside them, thousands of people packed together during raids. Imagine the sound in there. Coughing, whispering, boots scraping concrete floors. Children asking questions adults did not want to answer. And always, somewhere in the distance, the dull thunder of bombs. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, conditions became even harsher. In places like Stalingrad and Leningrad, civilians hid in basements, tunnels, damaged buildings, and underground shelters while entire cities turned into battle zones. Food shortages became deadly. Winters became unbearable. Sometimes the shelters protected people from bombs, but not from hunger. That became one cruel truth of World War II bunker life. A bunker could protect you from explosions, but it could not protect you from everything else. Far across the world in the Pacific, Japanese forces built vast underground tunnel systems on islands throughout the war. Soldiers lived beneath the ground for weeks or months at a time. Some tunnels connected bunkers, supply rooms, hospitals, and hidden artillery positions. These underground systems were dark, cramped, humid, and often crawling with insects. And honestly, if there is one thing that makes a bunker worse, it is probably surprise centipedes. The deeper the war went, the more underground life became normal. That is the truly strange part. People adjusted to it. Children learned how to sleep through sirens. Families carried emergency bags everywhere. Workers memorized the fastest routes to shelters. Some civilians even became able to guess what kind of bomb was falling based on sound alone. Imagine reaching the point where hearing explosions becomes part of your evening routine. There, newspaper, bomb shelter, sleep, and the bunker became a second home. Some people decorated their shelters to feel less afraid. They brought books, family photos, pillows, tiny lamps, even curtains. Anything to make cold concrete feel slightly more human. Because humans are surprisingly good at pretending things are normal, even underground during a world war. But despite all the adjustments, one feeling never fully disappeared. Waiting. That was the real heart of bunker life. Waiting for the bombs to stop. Waiting for the all-clear siren. Waiting to discover whether your street still existed above you. Sometimes people climbed back outside and found their homes destroyed completely. Entire neighborhoods could disappear overnight. And yet the next evening, when the sirens sounded again, survivors would once more pick up their blankets, gather their families, and head back underground. Night after night, month after month, the war turned millions of ordinary civilians into underground residents. Not because they wanted to live beneath the earth, but because the sky itself had become dangerous. And down inside those bunkers, surrounded by damp concrete walls, dim lights, nervous whispers, and the constant distant rumble of war, people tried their best to continue living normal lives, even when the world above them no longer felt normal at all.